Hello out there, YouTube. It's been a minute since I've made a video, and as you may see on my channel, it's Passionfruit Arts, and I focused on cooking, seasonal dishes, and living in rhythm with the seasons is part of intentional living, which is one of my decades-long practices. And you might wonder, what is intentional living? Well, it's really just living with intention, living on purpose instead of on default, and instead of on auto mode. And if you don't even really know what your purpose is, you might just think about, what are your highest values? What are your highest values? What is it that you most want to create an experience in your life? If you're living on autopilot, you may be living according to other people's values, like what society or your family or your friends expect of you. And when you live intentionally, you practice slowing down enough to ask yourself what's really important to you and what you value. And it may look different than what other people, even people you're really close to, even your partner or your family or friends, value, because we all have different priorities. And living with intention just means asking yourself, what do I want to do today that's going to point me towards creating what I highly value? What's going to point me towards creating the life of my most authentic dreams, like living in alignment with your vision. And it can be very simple. It's not necessarily about, what's out there in the future, bigger, better, faster, more. It's more about what's in here and what is fulfilling on a soul level. So you might find living intentionally is actually much simpler than trying to keep up with the expectations or values of society, which tells us a lot of things that may not be true for us. So with this idea of intentional living, I practice creative living, and I teach something called intentional creativity, which is an art form. It's a practice of painting that my teacher Shiloh Sophia calls intentional creativity, but she also says that intentional creativity is like anything we put our intention in that we are creating, right? It could be cooking a pot of soup with intention that it will be delicious and nourishing and healing and tasty, right? Those are very clear intentions. And so when we use the process of painting, for example, it's a really wonderful place to uncover and investigate our imagination and what we might want to create in our lives, if that's a feeling of peace and harmony and knowing oneself. The empty canvas or the blank page, if you're a writer, can be a place to come into curiosity and wonder and awe, and this process of meeting layer by layer by layer. So that's one of my practices. And I also practice something called art medicine, which another mentor of mine coined that term, and that is basically doing art for healing, creating intuitive art pieces for healing, for calming the nervous system, for coming into connection with spirit, with your creative spirit, with something that is greater than yourself. Slowing down and listening for guidance, perhaps even doing some guided shamanic journeys just with drum and listening and closing eyes and going in and getting in touch with your imagination. It can be really simple. You don't have to be a trained or skilled painter to be an artist. You can just slow down, listen, ask a question, and receive. I break it down into like practicing the arts. A would be for allowing and aligning with your vision. R would be for receiving. T is for like transmuting, transmitting. And S is for self and source. So practicing the arts is to be the artist of your life. So I'm starting up this channel again, and it's going to be more freeform and more loose, not so edited. And that was fun in 2020 when my partner and I did the cooking channel, and it was a lot of work, it was a lot of editing, and I'm just using this channel as an opportunity to share with you my intentional living, my creative living practices, and as I am very committed to my creative vision, I am mostly doing this work, teaching and guiding others in groups and circles, online and in person. One of the offerings I share in person is my ceremonial body painting, and that is an incredible initiation. So I have been offering for a few years now ceremonial arts, and I'll be sharing more about that on this channel as well. It's like in alignment with honoring transitions in life. You know, there's a cycle of creativity, there's a cycle of life, there are seasons in nature, there are seasons in our life, and one way to be intentional and in the flow of creative living is to be in tune with the seasons. And that can be the seasons of your own life, the cycle you're in personally, and the seasons in the environment in which you live. And I have a lot of practices that I have been experimenting with for decades, and food is just one of them. And I have moved out of sharing my holistic nutrition and cooking offerings, and I'm focused more on the broader container of creative living and creative living coaching, guidance, whatever you call it, teaching. So I invite you to join me, and I'm going on artist retreat, which looks like 12 weeks of committed time and space, showing up a couple times a week for 12 weeks for this winter, diving into an artist retreat. And this is a virtual, online, if you would like to join me. So please go to my website, passionfruitarts.com, and sign up for my newsletter. And that is my email list where you can find out about the the offerings. I don't email a lot, so don't worry about feeling bombarded with emails. I know there's a lot of invitations that come through, a lot of information, and I will just be sharing about the artist retreat and how you can learn more, and also some practices that we will be doing next week in preparation for the artist retreat. And those will be probably, I guess I'll do them on this YouTube channel. Why not? This is a good place. So it's nice to see you. It's nice to meet you. I would love to hear about how you think of yourself as an artist and what would be creatively fulfilling for you. If you were to go into artist retreat intentionally for 12 weeks, starting in mid-December, and what are you really envisioning? What is your creative vision? What would you like to spend time working on? Okay, so I'm inviting you to sign up for my email so that you can hear about the details of the artist retreat, and I will be sharing more about what's coming up next week. So this channel is taking a turn. Maybe I'll do some more cooking demos, but they're not going to be edited like they were before. This is about being in the creative flow, and one of my highest values is being spontaneous, improvisational, and being real. And so it's not going to be as polished and perfect and edited. Not that it was perfect, but this is about being in intentional creativity and intentional living. So I'd love to share all of these practices for being in tune with yourself and with your inner and outer environments. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Look forward to meeting you. Ciao.